Hey, welcome back to the channel, the Tony Montana channel. Why do I have this flash? Let's take this flash off. There you go. Much better. Uh, Thank you for coming back again. This is another video. This is a video that's going to be about pretty much answering a couple of questions at once. People have asked me to talk about Eli dogs. People have asked me to talk about Redboy dogs. Asked me to talk about Bolio dogs, Tombstone dogs, and it kind of not doesn't really motivate me to actually talk about those dogs as they're being labeled in those questions because first, most of you know, and this is more of a just a chat between people here that know dogs, or you people that don't know. Here, just listen up. These dogs lived decades ago. They've been dead for decades ago. For many decades, it's been dead. So for me to be talking about, when they ask me about Red Boy dogs, I'm thinking, first generation sons of Red Boy, or perhaps line bred of Red Bull, particularly like right there in the first four generations, you have Red Bull, that line bred, inbred type of thing. But after that, really, it they become either like a different strain. They become their own strain of that particular line. How? Let me explain it. Like think of Eli. Think of all these dogs that I just mentioned, Redboy, Bolio, and Tombstone, as the trunk of a tree. Okay, they are the trunk of the tree, and while the tree is still a plant, you're looking at the trunk, and that's really what it is. But once it starts producing, hence getting branches, you see if those branches are actually good branches, meaning they produce to create their own strain. Okay, and so you think about the trunk as the Eli or the Red Boy dog or whatever I just mentioned, and then look at the generations as part of the beginning of the branch. And if that branch is a good branch, meaning good workers and good producers, then that branch continues on and creates its own branches. You know, For example, Red Boy had, like, for example, Bingo. All right, and that dog created great dogs. One of the dogs that most people would talk about would be Devil Deacon. Devil Deacon. Again, it's an inbred dog of Red Boy, and from there's many other dogs that the Cunningham dogs, that people that have grabbed those dogs from different strains and created their own line, creating their own piece of branch. If you want me to say it that way, they created their own. They created basically their own strain, their own branches, and that's what really I don't like talking about Red Boy. This is not because we're so far apart from that. The only reason you would talk about dogs in those terms is if the person that you're talking to doesn't know the generation in front, like the good dogs in front, or the 4 generations, 5 generations. If they don't know about these dogs, then you kind of have to go back and back to dogs that you actually I know that one. I know Red Boy. So, like, oh, comes from Red Boy or whatnot, But to talk about that dog, or also to talk about like the Eli, talk about Eli dogs. Oh my God, Eli, oops, sorry about that. Then we're questioning: are you talking about Eli Jr. or Eli, himself? Obviously, if you talk about Eli Jr., there's a lot of things that went from Eli Jr. And the same with meaning many strains from the Eli Jr. and obviously from Eli himself. Eli was the parent of the sire of Bulison. So that Honey Bunch blood is because of Eli blood. So like Eli Jr. and Bulison are siblings, little mates. So you think the Honey Bunch dogs did well, but again, it's so many generations apart that if you look at the Honey Bunch dogs and you think of the Eli dogs of the past, they look completely different. They act different. They're known for different things. So same thing with the Bolio dog. They ask me, oh, the Bolio dog. It's just so far apart from now. It's people that talk about him like that is because either they do not want to recognize in public the actual strain, today's strain of dogs, or perhaps it's just such a quiet strain that if you're not paying attention to the pedigree, even if you didn't know the dogs, you kind of see the connection of what dogs are being used or what kind of breeding or like siblings. This is a sibling of that, and it's being connected to this. So you could read the pedigree. You could read the pedigree and identify really, even if you don't know the dogs individually or what they did in performance or production, you can kind of read the pedigree to understand what the breeder was trying to do. So but just to talk about Eli dogs or things, I'll be here talking forever because talk about all the dogs that came from them and the dogs that came from those and then from those and then from those. Same thing with the Redboy, Tombstone, and all that. So I really don't talk in those terms. There's specific strains that are 4 or 5 generations in front of Eli. I probably talk. Obviously Cunningham. It's some Cunningham has some dogs that are great producers now or were great producers a little while ago. That is more of it, but I will not. Yes, it came from Redboy, but really, Cunningham did his own thing and made those dogs his signature. So, and that's just an example, because if we talk about Marlowe, there's different people that actually grabbed those dogs and did their own thing with it, and they did great things with it. Bingo is another strain of dogs that considered great dogs, and they cross well with other dogs. But for me to talk about Redboy dogs, Eli dogs like that, no, because it's just so far removed from today that perhaps in historical terms, like if I wanted to just break down and have in historical terms and just but it would take so much time, and I'm not really all that interested because people hung paper so much that I could be talking about it and I may be the fool that believed how the pedigree is said to be, and that probably has nothing to do with it. So I'd rather talk about other things aside from pedigree or strains of dogs, because unless I bred the dogs, I'm not going to be 100% sure how it's bred. Unless I trust the person that bred it and believe that person is not going to lie to me, just go with what you see. Anyway, this is Tony Montana. Until next time.